So, continuing with what we were discussing, when we make rice, they should be soaked. While you make it, you should put 6 cups of water in 1 cup of, say, rice. While they are boiling, there would be froth on the top of it. So, make sure that the froth is removed because it has some excessive starch. Once that's done, you can put some salt. You have to make sure that they are not under or overcooked. Both under and overcooked rice are not good for health and they are not good for digestion as well. Uh, this when you remove the froth and have them this way, this process of boiling the rice and having it will have a lot more fiber and very less carbs. One thing that has to be taken care of is the water that's set on top of the rice is basically is the rice water. It's rice kanchi, sometimes that's how we say in India. It's very good for health when you are not well, like if you have fever, you are feeling you have some indigestion, your stomach is not well and you are not ready to accept any other food which is hard to digest. Having rice water is very good for health at that point of time. So even when the kids are teething, where they're not able to have any other food, strong solid foods, doctors would normally suggest them to have rice kanji, that's rice water. So the simple way to make is, as we discussed, is while you make rice, the water on the top after the froth is removed, that water can be taken, a little salt can be added as per the taste, and you can have it. That's a lot more easier to digest. Few things that should be kept in mind while uh, uh, you know while you make food or drink food or consume things is few people often get confused. Okay, you said milk shouldn't be had cold, they should be warmed and should be had, it's better to have warm milk. But when you talk about warm milk, we should be sure that we are not talking about coconut milk, or we are not talking about almond milk. Both the coconut milk and almond milk is something that shouldn't be warmed. So it completely warming them, heating them completely change their property. So it's better they shouldn't be warmed. Yeah, better is you can have them on in the room temperature rather than having just cold directly from the refrigerator. But strictly coconut milk and almond milk should not be warmed. uh, yes, people would say that few cuisines like Thai cuisines do have coconut milk in it that's been used in the curries. That is something, yeah, once in a while you have that for a taste, change of taste, and something that's still okay. But preferably, coconut milk or almond milk is not something that should be heated in a cuisine. Okay, so that's, you have to make sure about this element of it. Here, I would like to mention one thing. Sometimes you do add milk, normal milk, in your any recipes that you're making, especially some Indian curries or something. You would like to add milk in it to make it a little more richer, the curry. So make sure when you're doing it, you are removing it from the heat. Then you're adding the milk, and then you stir it. And once it's all added, then you can bring it back to the heat, because your curries would also have other elements. We'll be talking about this in the combination of food as well. But as we're talking about milk, I wanted to bring this point that sometimes we do add milk to the curries. So we have tomato and we have other elements of recipes in it, and then we are adding milk. So sometimes it might curdle. So to avoid that curdling, what we are doing is we're trying to remove it from the heat. Then we are adding the milk that we require. We might mix it, and we can then bring it back to the heat. But bringing back to the point that these milks, like coconut milk, almond milk, they shouldn't be heated. They should be consumed in the room temperature all the time. Something that again should not be heated is honey. Most of the time people would have their milk, and then they would just, when they're heating it up, they would put little honey in it, they will mix it, and they will feel, oh, it's very good for health. But just to make sure that honey should not be heated, what you can do is, when you warm your milk, you can put it on your in your cup, and you can put your honey, then mix it and then have it. That's all the more better than heating them. Most of the time, Ayurveda believes that heating up things like honey and coconut milk and say almond milk can actually lead to weaker bones and can actually make your stomach feel upset. So, because it changes its properties, right, as we discussed. So, it's always better that we have all these things in the room temperature, or even if we want to have it like heated, we should heat the milk and not the honey in it, and we can put the heated milk in the cup or a bowl that we want to have cereals, and then we can put honey in that. So that is something that we were talking and we were discussing about, how we should heat and not heat certain things. So we saw what is nature of food, we saw what is processing of food. We Now third thing that we are going to talk about, combination. So we all already heard about some combinations like not combining milk with fruits. So sometimes people would say I had fruit shake, banana shake, mango shake in my breakfast. That is something which shouldn't be had. It's a not good it's a not a good healthy combination to be taken. um, and also when I talk about milk, I want to say that most of the Indian household do have tea in the morning, and they will add their tea, and then they will make add milk while making that tea. Or if they have coffee, they are going to add that coffee, and then they are going to add milk in it. Combination of milk, tea, coffee is not a good combination. Yes, we are having since so many years now, but Ayurveda says having a black tea or a black coffee is so much better than having a coffee or a tea with had milk in it. So this is something which we should try to avoid. Like, you can lessen the quantity slowly, slowly, and there would be a time when you will be fine having it even without milk. So you will say that, okay, Jocelyn, you have mentioned that we shouldn't be having fruit with milk. So then what does become a good combination if I want to have milk in the morning or I want to have milk? I would say mixing milk with dates, or say figs, is a very good combination. So when we are having when we warm up milk, you can put few pieces of dates and let it heat up, and then you can have it. So it'll add that natural sweetness in it, and but we'll also be able to kind of you'll be able to digest it so much better. So milk and dates and fig are a very good combination. Uh, Sometimes, we have this habit of combining all different kinds of fruits. Like, you will make a fruit chart in India. You make a fruit chart. What is a fruit chart? Where you combine different elements like banana, grapes, apples. You will just cut in small pieces and you will add them, and maybe you'll squeeze some lemon in it. You'll squeeze, you'll put some spice in it, salt and stuff like that, and you would like to have it as a snack. You would believe that it's a very healthy thing that you're doing because you're combining different fruits and having whole lot of nutrition in it. But Ayurveda says that's not a good habit. So when you're having a fruit, make sure that you're having just one fruit at a time. Like, if you want to have some fruit in the morning, maybe you have a banana. Try you're not combining banana with apple, banana with several other things. So during the day you can have different fruits, but at any one point of time, you should try to have only one fruit, not more than that. So that is again something which has to be taken care of. Another combination is onion and milk. It's not a good combination at all. Onion has high level of sulfur, and combining it with something like milk is not a good combination at all. So when I was talking about putting milk in the curries, uh, that's the reason I was telling it was very, as much as possible, we should avoid adding milk to curries, because normally, especially Indian curries, would always have onion in the base. So when you're adding milk in it, that's not a good combination. So we should try not to have that combination, especially When we are cooking curries and which are already very heavy and will have onion in it, and then you're adding milk, it's not leading to a very good combination. Something like ghee and honey is not a good combination at all. It actually leads, it might make you stomach super upset. And I think there is some combination of ghee and honey, like say 2 tablespoon of ghee and 2 tablespoon of honey. I'm not too sure the exact quantity, but something closer to it. It leads to actually food poisoning. If you lessen the quantity, you might have an upset stomach. If you lessen it further, you might feel, kind of going to washroom and stuff like that. But 2 tablespoon of ghee with 2 tablespoon of honey can actually lead to food poisoning. So that is something which Ayurveda believes in it. Mixing something cold with any meal, Ayurveda says it's a crime. It's a crime. So, few examples are like, people have this habit of having cold water in between the meals. So that is something basic that we should avoid. If at all, it's better not to have water while you're having your meal. But in case you're feeling a little choked in your throat or something, you can always keep a glass of warm water while you start having your meal. So in case you feel the urge of having water, what you can do is you can have that a sip of warm water. Maybe a little lemon squeezed in it will be all the more better. But if not lemon, just plain warm water. A sip of it maybe will help you better, but not cold water at all. Other things that people do sometimes is, they would say have some Italian cuisines, they have some pasta or pizza, and they would like to have, some Coke, Pepsi, any drink with it. So that is something which is a strict no under Ayurveda. uh, any other meal, so the combination of where you're combining cold with a meal is a serious crime under Ayurveda. So what can we do for having a better digestion? So having, as I said, warm water, not having cold things while you're having your meal. Meal is generating some energies in it, some heat in your body, and then you're adding cold stuff in it. So you're making the stomach feel, you're burdening your stomach, you're kind of confusing it, right? So it's not a good idea to combine it. Something like having a warm water, or maybe putting some, say, cumin seeds or carom seeds in it, it's actually good for your digestion. So um, personally, I sometimes boil some cumin seeds in water and then let it kind of settle down, make it for the room temperature, and then have it after the meal. It really works wonders. So it actually helps the stomach for digestion. So this should be kept in mind, that cold with a meal is kind of a strict no-no. Very important, another aspect that a lot of dietitians are been talking about is already being described in Ayurveda. That is climatic healing, eating. Sorry, climatic eating. Some things that are grown in that climate, locally produced around you, is the best to be had these days, because things are being imported and exported. Like something, I remember when I was small, when I was a kid, watermelon was only available in summers. It was not available in winters. Similarly, apples. Apples were mostly available. Apples and oranges were mostly available in winters. Something like mangoes were only available during summers. And as we used to have peak summers, we used to have more sweeter mangoes. So every climate is suitable for certain kind of produce. These days, because there's a cold storage and stuff like that, especially now I'm in Canada, so we have mangoes throughout the year. We have watermelon throughout the year. We have apples throughout the year, and that two different varieties. So the best practice is procuring something from your locality, because what you're procuring would be something that are produced which was grown in a climate that was suitable to it. Okay, so So similarly, when I say potatoes, potatoes are good in winters. It's good to be avoided in summer. It has more it's more to do with your digestion, right? So if, as I said, as a fruit, watermelon used to be always a summer fruit, and mango used to always be a summer fruit, and then your say um, oranges used to be always a winter fruit. So when they are had at a time when when the climate is suitable for its produce, that's the best for your stomach, for your digestion, and for various other aspects of your body. So climatic heating, changing your eating habits according to according to your climate, and according to the produce that's made in that climate, is actually the best thing to be done. So we already talked about say nature of food. We talked about combination. We talked about how processing is there. Now we want to say we want to talk about little bit more about the combinations here. When you, I would like to give an example of a combination called mango and curd. It's a famous thing in Indian recipes, and here I see in a lot of Indian restaurants it's being sold. It's called mango lassi, where you're making when you're using curd, water, and mango, and making that drink. This is something which is not at all good for your body. Curd, basically, they say that you should not eat on a very rainy day. You should not eat curd in winters, and you should avoid actually in night. It takes a little more time to digest. It's a little heavy for the body, so it's better that you have it during the afternoon time, so that it's easy for the stomach to go on sleep when you want to go on sleep. And as I already mentioned about climatic, so climatic eating can happen only when you procure more what is available locally to you, what is produced where you live. You know, so I think when I was a kid, I see various different foods are available in different regions of the country. The western part would have some different food produce, very specific to that locality. Eastern would have something very specific. North and south would have something very specific as a produce. So when you procure the food that's locally available to you, it's more climatic food as well, and it's very good for your body to digest. Now, very important to understand is whether it's a locally produced food, whether you are making it in the right way, whether you are doing, say, heating it when required, everything included. What's important is now the quantity, how much of the food that you should have. So in our stomach, say you have half food, you have put half food, one fourth is water. So what should be left is, say, one fourth space in your stomach should be left empty. You should never fill your stomach completely. That creates pressure on your diaphragm. You're not able to breathe properly, and that affects your breathing. So when you're talking about yogic breathing, you yourself will experience the days when you have a very heavy food, you're not able to breathe properly, you're short breath, you're not able to do any physical things like climbing few stairs. You'll be breathless because you're not able to use your breathing capabilities to the full. So Ayurveda says that in the stomach there should be one fourth of the space that should always be left empty. Even if you're having healthy food, still the rule remains the same. It says that water is kind of, sometimes people say water should not be had at all with food. We would say water is allowed to be sipped while you're eating your food, but not at a regular. Sometimes people have a habit of having a bite and then they have water, a bite and they have a water. That's not a good habit to follow. Related to it, being eating habit is also one of the habit of not sitting at one place and eating. These days when you go to restaurants and you have these buffet systems, when you get up and get your food and you come and eat, you get up your food, get your food and come and eat, all these are not a very good system. The days when you eat like that, you will not be satisfied. The better is when you sit. Even if you have small meal, you'll be feeling much more satiated and satisfied than having a meal while you're moving, even if it was the best meal in terms of the number of items and variety and stuff like that. So I would like to summarize this class mentioning that food, there's a lot more that can be discussed about food, but I would say food in itself is something which gives you energies and which can also drain your energies if not have had properly or are not properly proper timings. So I would say it's always better to go with sattvic foods, have simple foods, climatic foods, locally produced foods, not too many combinations. Try to avoid water while having food unless you're really wanted to have, you just can sip that to warm waters, not having cold stuff. So this is kind of a summary of all what that we discussed. I hope the class was helpful to all of you and you'll be able to use some of your tips in your everyday life. Thank you. Namaste.